Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Mariam, and I'm going to be the MC for today. We hope that those of you who were not praying were able to follow the prayers on the screen and in your booklets as well. I'd like to welcome you to SICM. This community has been putting together events since the late 1970s, I'm told. Every Thursday and Friday we have evening programs, after which there's always time to socialize and drink tea, obviously the most important part. The center also runs yoga classes, self-defense classes, tuition classes, a religious Sunday school. The list is basically endless. So the plan is to continue all of this with the construction of the Salam Center and hopefully do a lot more. On your way in, you may have passed the beautiful construction site outside. At SICM, we have a vision of creating a community center not just for Muslims, but for everyone in Harrow. Having grown up in Harrow, I can honestly say it is one of my favorite places in London. I mean, it may not always be particularly visually pleasing, but we have one of the most diverse communities in the UK. I was able to grow up alongside a whole variety of different types of people. And while growing up with them, I was able to develop an understanding and appreciation of different faiths and different cultures. So hopefully, this understanding and appreciation can be enhanced with the Salam Center for future generations. If you want to find out more about the Salam Center, at the end of the program, Nizar Uncle will be giving a short talk about it and even offer the opportunity to go out and visit the site and see the current progress of the project. You can also find out more about the Salam Center at the stall at the back, which I know some of you have already visited. So hopefully you've all been able to pick up a booklet on entering, and inside the booklet you'll find information on the program and further information on the speakers that will be talking today. I've been told to tell you where the fire exits are, so they're the two exits that we have. There's no other ones. So just a little bit about Visit My Mosque. It's been successfully running for the past 3 years, set up by the Muslim Council of Britain. And we at SICM have been proudly actually participating in this for the last 3 years as well. It's a wonderful opportunity for people from outside the Muslim community to walk inside a mosque and really learn about their Muslim neighbors, friends, and community members. Many places would ask people to switch off their phones, but we're happy for people to have them on, so long as you're tweeting away using the hashtag SICMVMM. The Twitter handles for the speakers can be found in the booklets and will be on the screens too. Feel free to take pictures, please don't feel shy, and we won't be shy, so we'll be taking lots of pictures too, so if anyone has any objections to that, please do say so now. So most programs begin with the recitation of the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran is the Islamic holy book, and we believe that it was revealed to Prophet Muhammad over 1400 years ago. Until this day, its recitation is heard throughout the world, and it's reported by the first Imam, the Prophet's cousin, Imam Ali, and we're told that he said, "The Holy Quran is beautiful outwardly, and it is deep and profound inwardly. Its wonder is everlasting." Amongst those in our community, we're fortunate to have members who recite Quran so beautifully. So I'd like to welcome Khadija Ghulam Hussain and Muhammad Khalil to give a translation. Yeah. Oh, sorry, the toilets are over here as well, so I've been told to tell you that.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تتذكرون وأوفوا بعهد الله إذا عاهدتم ولا تنقضوا الأيمان بعد توكيدها وقد جعلتم الله عليكم كفيلا إن الله يعلم ما تفعلون.
In the name of God, the Lord of mercy, the giver of mercy. God commands justice, doing good and generosity towards relatives, and he forbids what is shameful, blameworthy, and oppressive. He teaches you so that you may take heed. Fulfill any pledge you make in God's name, and do not break oaths after you have sworn them, for you have made God your surety. God knows everything you do.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله ولو على أنفسكم أو الوالدين والأقربين إن يكن غنيا أو فقيرا فالله أولى بهما فلا تتبعوا الهوى أن تعدلوا وإن تلووا أو تعرضوا فإن الله كان بما تعملون خبيرا.
In the name of God, the Lord of mercy, the giver of mercy, you who believe, uphold justice and bear witness to God, even if it is against yourselves, your parents, or your close relatives. Whether the person is rich or poor, God can best take care of both. Refrain from following your own desire so that you can act justly. If you distort or neglect justice, God is fully aware of what you do.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإن طائفتان من المؤمنين اقتتلوا فأصلحوا بينهما فإن بغت إحداهما على الأخرى فقاتلوا التي تبغي حتى تفيء إلى أمر الله فإن فاءت فأصلحوا بينهما بالعدل وأقسطوا إن الله يحب المقسطين.
In the name of God, the Lord of mercy, the giver of mercy, if you ask them, who created the heavens and earth, they are sure to say, they were created by the Almighty, the All-Knowing. It is He who smoothed out the earth for you and traced out routes on it for you to find your way. Who sends water down from the sky in due measure? We resurrect dead land with it, and likewise you will be resurrected from the grave. Who created every kind of thing, who gave you ships and animals to ride on, so that you may remember your Lord's grace when you are seated on them and say, Glory be to Him who has given us control over this. We could not have done it by ourselves.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
In the name of God, the Lord of mercy, the giver of mercy. O you men, surely we have created you of a male and a female, and made you tribes and families that you may know each other. Surely the most honorable of you with Allah is the one among you most careful of his duty. Surely Allah is knowing, aware.
Thank you. And thanks for bearing with us.
Thanks for that recitation. So we're fortunate to have all of you here today, so thank you once again for joining us. Today we'll be having a few short speeches about social action. So this is the foundation of the society and community that we live in. Bringing us together as a community is important, but it's about what we do together too. Hopefully we'll have some good insight into how we can move our community forward in the terrible times that we're facing. To start off with then, our first speaker is going to be the Deputy Mayor of Harrow, Councillor Margaret Devine. Councillor Devine has worked for 7 companies, including Age Concern Harrow, where she was a director, the Wish Centre, and the University of Westminster. So please welcome her with a round of applause.
Hello, everybody.
There you go.
I'm sorry. Okay, right. Hello, everybody. Welcome, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm representing the Mayor of Harrow today because she's busy doing something else, so that's when you get me. But I'm very, very happy to be doing this. And I've been told that I can talk about anything for 5 minutes, so that's a bit of a red rag to me, so I'll try and stop. But I do want to talk a bit about social action and relating to the community and socially generally. And I know from looking at some of the information I was given, you do quite a lot to try and make sure that you're in touch with your community, your own community, religiously, but also the surrounding community. And that's what I'd like to put a little bit into. I think when you are trying to work with the community, the social community around you, it's very important that you try to be very inclusive and include everyone you meet. And I know you do some social work by having meetings here and inviting people in, but I don't know if you go out and meet people out in the community, like in the shops, in their houses, etc. But if you do, it's very important. Harrow is very proud of being a very diverse community. That's our biggest pride, I think, that we try to include everybody from the community in the work that we do. And so I think for other organisations, smaller organisations, it's important that they do it in that way as well. And I was given a sheet by the people who run this organisation, and it's quite clear from reading that you do try to be inclusive in the way you work, and that's very important, I think, and very good. But what I would like to stress is that you try to include all people. For instance, that you talk to young people as well as your own age group, or communicate with, not talk at, talk with, and listen to them. Listening to them is the most important part, I think, of relating to people and to young people and to women. I'm glad it's a mixed audience today. That's not always the case wherever I go, and I think it's really important to recognise the richness of the community around us and making sure that we try to communicate with all those parts of it. I'm looking around for a glass of water. It doesn't matter. So I think that's the most important, if there's a message about it, is that you are very outward looking to the community around you and try and be inclusive so that people don't look on you as a closed sect. That's not the right word, I don't think, but a closed group. So I think that is the most important message I've got. And I know that looking at the sheet I was given about your organisation, that you recognise the value of education and that you invite a lot of speakers to speak that can talk about different things, and so that you have a deeper understanding of the community that you're situated in. And soon, with your new mosque, you will be very proud and very visible to everyone around. You're not quite so much. I mean, I think everybody in Harrow does know what is happening. Oh, lovely. That's splendid. I mean, I think everybody around in Harrow, around North Harrow and the wider Harrow, knows that the mosque is here and coming, and they do know about you. But once you've got your new mosque, you will be an outstanding landmark, of course. So it will be easier to communicate with, but it'll be very important that you don't close in on yourselves and that you welcome other people in and talk to them, and you go out and talk to them. So that's really and listen to them, because you learn more about the people you're talking to by listening, and even if it's the odd comment they make back, listen to that, and you learn more about them that way. The other thing, I know that you have lots of talks about health, and that helps you, and you've got family groups, and so that is, again, a really important part, that you don't hide away health problems, that you make sure you people can talk to one another within the community and outside, and obviously doctors and hospitals, but I really mean general health, so that you know the ways to keep yourselves healthy and your families healthy. And I think we hear a lot about poverty these days, and poverty of children, and how difficult it is for some families to manage and make ends meet. And I think that, I mean, we live in a relatively prosperous area here in Harrow, and I think it's much more important that we make sure there's no poverty of hope, really, with it, because poverty isn't only about what you've got materially. We can always cut down a bit and squeeze a bit on that front, I think. But it's very, very important, especially for the young people in a community, that there isn't poverty of hope, that they feel they've got a future to look forward to, and even if they don't like everything they see around them, that they feel they can go forward and make things better. I think that's really, really important. And it's it's the part of poverty that really matters and affects the kind of people we are. So I don't know if anybody wants to ask me any questions. I'm very happy to answer any questions, or I'll just carry on. And I don't know if I've been 5 minutes yet or not. I have no idea of time. So, but I do think, well, I suppose I've talked a bit about making sure you include young people in the work you do and the social development you do. Well, it's also extremely important, and I shouldn't forget this because I'm old myself. You need to make sure you're including older people as well, maybe people who can't get here easily. And I don't know if you have a system where people bring other people and friends, but that's one way to help with that. But I think it's thinking of the whole gamut of age groups, from the elderly down to the young people, that ensures that people develop and grow up in a healthy and positive way. and look forward to the future. We all see things going on or hear of things going on in countries around us or across many seas at the moment, and are quite horrified, I think. And it's important that we get ourselves and our community into a way that is thinking positively about the future and can look forward to things getting better. Because nothing makes elderly people more isolated than staying indoors because they're frightened of the community around them, than feeling there is nothing, everything, it's not like it used to be. Well, I feel like that sometimes. But that feeling that there's no way they can make it better. And when I feel like that, then I think you've got to keep going out and meeting people and listening to them and talking to them so that you can put your 10 penneth into getting better. And that's the same especially for young people, but also for older people, because they can very easily become quite isolated in their homes because it's the only place they feel safe. So, that's my little bit. Okay. May I take this with me?
I'll send you the bit after.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you very much, Councillor Devine, for that very inspiring talk. So next we're going to have the Right Honourable Gareth Thomas, MP. Gareth Richard Thomas is a British Labour cooperative politician who's been the Member of Parliament for Harrow West since 1997 and the Chair of the Cooperative Party since 2001. He held the position of Minister of State at the Department for International Development and following the 2010 election joined the Shadow Frontbench team. So please welcome Right Honourable Gareth Thomas MP. If you'd like to tweet him, his Twitter handle is Gareth Thomas MP.
If you hear any crying, okay, it's my daughter at the back, so apologies in advance. If I sort of duck in and duck out of saying something, it's lovely to be back because. I've got a protest at the back. Yeah, it's lovely to be back because. I think it shows I'm a bad dad, actually, but that's by the point. By the by, it's lovely to be back because I've lived in North Harrow, or I lived in North Harrow pretty much most of my life. And hang on a second, I'm going to bring her up. Is that all right? Is that all right? Yeah. Oh.
She wants to be like her dad in the front.
I think she's going to be much more coherent than me, as you can tell already. My first memories of this site are of North Harrow, when North Harrow had assembly halls, and before the mosque and the community owned the site. And I remember taking part as a sort of a 20-year-old at Labour Party jumble sales in the assembly halls there. And so this community is a much better use of the site than that was. Thanks very much. Cheers. I think it's wonderful that the community are. I'm so grateful for all the help. Thanks very much. I think it's great that the community has set up and is organised and has got a vision for its future in terms of the site next door. Margaret sort of touched on the way the Muslim community is seen internationally, and I know we're all fans of Donald Trump in this room. I come to this community and I look around the community and I look at all the Muslims in the community and I think, well, there is one dodgy Muslim in the room, and that's Mick Dadversi. But the others in this room today who are dodgy are not Muslim, but are interested. I'm looking at you, Jerry Devine, at the back. I think the Muslim Council of Great Britain deserve considerable praise for this initiative, because it's a very clever and sensible way of trying to just deconstruct some of the sort of Daily Mail-esque myths about the Muslim community. And so I congratulate them on this initiative, and for SICM for the way in which they have sort of grasped the opportunity, because there are now 3 mosques in Harrow at least who are doing Visit My Mosque Day. Obviously this is the best one. Said that the same to the other 2 as well. But you have, exactly, thank you, Rose, sorry about that. But so you've led the way, because yours, the other 2 that I have been to today, or I'm going to, it's new to me. So that's a sign of the growing strength of the initiative, that so many more mosques are taking part, so many communities are opening their doors and drawing other people in. The other thing I like about this community in particular is the way you work with other faiths, and the initiative of going along on Christmas Eve to down the road to take part at you can't have the microphone, sweetheart. To take part in the service just before Christmas Day, I think is a remarkable sign of the sort of open-mindedness within the community, and rightly brings you great praise, and is a great sort of advert for the strength and the values of the community at a time when some people around the world don't quite appreciate the community in the way that they should do. Well, that's very generous of you. I'd just like to say, I think it's great there are so many people from so many faiths here today, and I think the initiative is going to be a success, and I hope the other speakers are better organised and more fluent than me.
Thank you very much, Gareth. So he said 3 mosques in Harrow, but it's actually more than 150 mosques across the UK, which is absolutely brilliant. So that is really good. Also, I've been told by Miqdad Versi that Visit My Mosque is trending on Twitter, which is excellent. Right, so the next speaker that we're going to have is Reverend John Swarbrick. We have been very fortunate to have welcomed him for various talks previously, including last year's Visit My Mosque, Ramadan, and also for one of our main Friday talks, where he talked about the parallels of Islam today and Methodism in the 18th century. He is a minister at the Methodist Church and looks after the congregation there. So please welcome him with a round of applause.
You're still putting up with me. And may I bring greetings from all the 17 Methodist churches in the Harrow and Hillingdon circuit. Gareth referred to the good relationships which have built up between Christians and Muslims in this area, especially the work we do with the Methodists, the Anglicans, and here at SICM with our regular 2 monthly meetings, and another outing to Kew Gardens planned in May. So we're looking forward to that. I wanted to start really by, I went to a meeting back in early December organised by Harrow Council in conjunction with the Metropolitan Police and the Stop Hate UK group. Some of you may have been at that as well. And one of the unintended consequences of the Brexit vote last summer was the spike in hate crime. And directed where? Well, directed at Jews, at Muslims, at East European people, and members of the LGBT community. Now, maybe it was always lying there under the surface, but it's almost as though the Brexit vote gave an excuse for it to surface. And I think, as was mentioned earlier, we are living in very, I think, uncertain times. All of that suggests things are changing, the rise of populism and nationalism, both on the other side of the Atlantic and elsewhere, I think, is worrying. And all those sort of institutions that we've felt in terms of liberal democracy and multilateral institutions, which haven't been perfect by any means, but they have helped maintain the peace since the end of the Second World War, broadly, certainly in Europe, not elsewhere. As I say, nothing is perfect. It seems as though all of these things are up for question in a changing world, and I'd like to think that our communities can be places of resistance to these trends, really, and that we can articulate them and stand shoulder to shoulder against them. I brought it so I get the quote right. One of Trump's closest advisors is a man called Steve Bannon, who says that he's a Leninist. Yes, I want to do away with the state, and that's my goal too, as Lenin did. I want to bring everything crashing down. It's pretty chilling, isn't it, when you have Trump in the White House and Vladimir the Terrible in the Kremlin, and things in between. And whatever's going to happen in France or across Europe, and indeed for the future of this country. Liberal democracy, tolerance, mutual respect, these are vitally important things if we are going to live together, not just at the local level, but at the wider level as well. So I say my hope and prayer is that we continue our local dialogue, but that we're also the people who are going to stand up to this move into, well, at times it feels like a kind of crypto-fascism across the world. I think it's ironic, wasn't Oswald Mosley the MP for Harrow back in the 1930s? All seems to come round again, doesn't it? But, and I'm sorry if all that sounds depressing, and some of it is, but hang on in there, folks. Hang on in there, and be the people who can make a difference and help us to live together creatively and wonderfully and well. Yeah? Okay.
Next guest is Rabbi Danny Bergson. Rabbi has been the rabbi of Pinner Synagogue since 2011. Prior to that, he was rabbi in Newton Mearns, Glasgow. He holds a degree in computer science from Manchester University. Rabbi is also a trained cantor and guitarist, passionate about using music and song to inspire and positively influence all the people he meets or works with. He's currently involved in 2 major music projects. One is part of an interfaith band called All Faith, which aims to bring together different faiths and produce music of universal appeal, and is finishing work on his first Jewish album, which is a mix of rock, jazz, and acoustic music. Sounds very interesting. Let's welcome him with a round of applause.
My guitar gently weeps. Okay. First of all, thank you so much, Kumail, and for all those at the SICM community for inviting me today. Just to make a couple of corrections, I had produced the album actually a few years ago, and I'm no longer involved, unfortunately, in the interfaith music, although it was an amazing experience at the time. I was asked to speak today about social action, although I have changed the title to Righteous Action versus Social Action. And as I was listening to the wonderful speakers preceding me, I was also finding myself staring at this incredible building, the Salam Center, and actually reminding me of a few years ago when, I think it was the founding stone was 3 years ago now, or 4 years ago? 3 years ago, that was my first introduction to your wonderful, wonderful, warm and welcoming community. I came with my chairman, former chairman, Howard Freeman at the time, who, amazing twist of events, today is actually celebrating the engagement of his daughter. So yeah, and I was looking at this incredible structure, and I'm no scholar of Islamic architecture, but I was thinking about our temple from the Jewish temple times that was on the Temple Mount some 2,000 years ago, and before that 2,500 years ago, the first temple. And I was looking at all the amazing um, the glasses and the spaces in the structure over there as a sort of symbol of a beacon of light to the world. I don't know if that was the intention, sort of sparks of light coming into the world. And it reminded me of the temple structure where they didn't have glass in those days, but they had sort of windows which were wider on the outside and thin on the inside, as opposed to in medieval times where it would be the other way around. So you had a wide angle to shoot out to the enemy, but of course they couldn't get you. It was the opposite way around, as of course a house of God doesn't need protection, but rather it's spreading its light in as many directions as possible. And that's very much to me what the SICM community, the Shia Nashri community of Middlesex, represents. It sounds much better in the full, doesn't it? Nashri. Because that's what I feel every time I come here. I feel a sense of warmth, a sense of belonging. I feel that I'm able to speak openly, share opinions, and even if we differ on things at times, and that's a really important thing. So let me move on to my topic today. Bear me with a few notes. Righteous action versus social action. So what is social action? We talk about it in the media, it's buzzing, it's twittering, it's everything. It's basically defined as taking steps to change the things that are wrong in our society and introducing new ideas, processes for doing things better in the future. But as a faith leader, I like to think of this as righteous action, in the sense that there's a moral obligation and duty. It's not a hobby. Oh, I'm into social action, what are you into? It's something that comes from God. A duty, so to speak, that comes from God to help others. And as people of faith, we must feel it as a calling. The desire to help others in need should be our instinctive reaction. In Hebrew, we have the phrase gemilut chasadim, which roughly translates as the bestowal of kindness or acts of kindness, which stems from the acknowledgement that all human beings are created in the image of God. So when we talk about breaking down our divisions and looking for that which we share, what more can we share from a religious perspective? We have a very powerful position to argue to the world. We share more than anybody in the sense that we as human beings are made in the image of God. That's an essential connection. It's not just we may share the same geographic location, we may share the same names or the same cars, or we go to the same schools. It's much more essential what connects us as human beings. And actually our tradition teaches that the world stands on 3 pillars, which are in Hebrew Torah, Avodah, and Gemilut Chasadim, which broadly speaking translates as Torah, spiritual wisdom, godly instruction, which for the Muslim community will obviously be the Quran and the associated teachings. Avodah, which broadly speaking is our spiritual service and prayer, and Gemilut Chasadim, which I mentioned is acts of kindness. In other words, we can develop as communities, as societies, with piety through the first 2 pillars, but ultimately it's like, imagine a chair with 2 legs. It's going to fall if we don't have, it's like a world collapsing in on itself if we just don't have that basic sense of acting for others. And it's not just, of course, helping our co-religionists, as we taught in the Bible, do not oppress the stranger because you were strangers, referring in that sense to the Israelites, you were strangers in Egypt. In other words, acts of kindness are not just about helping those who are within our community, but pointing outwards to the community outside. I thought there's a wonderful example in the Bible which I'd like to share with you from Abraham, who we all share as a forefather, who actually challenges God himself when it comes to Sodom and Gomorrah. They're going to be destroyed for their sinful behavior. And Abraham turns to him and says, "Far be it from you to do such a thing, to put to death the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous should be like the wicked. Far be it from you." And famously, "Will the judge of the entire earth not perform justice?" The message here is very powerful. Man cannot just tolerate suffering of others. It's not enough for him but he must even challenge God himself. We must develop a worldview that pulsates with a desire to improve our society, even if it means shouting at God, so to speak. This seems to be a concept derived from the Bible. And we've heard this afternoon about the complex geopolitical world that we live in. And I think this is a challenge for faith leaders because we're not politicians. It's not always so clear what's right and what's wrong. But I think in all the complexity, Take, for example, the refugee crisis, which is one of global proportions, which looks like it will be continuing to be with us for decades to come. I think what we can learn as faith leaders, and when I say faith leaders, we're all faith leaders if we're part of faith communities, is that however complex the issue, we must, as people of faith, not shy away from voicing our concerns, and where necessary, speaking truth to power. But we must be careful in understanding and de-picking politics from actually faith. I think that's an important thing. I've always been very impressed with the SICM community and how you reach out and do interfaith work. I think what I'm about to state is probably self-evident to you, but it's probably what I've learned from you. And that is, there's three real things that we gain from working together as in interfaith and working together with interfaith and social action, or righteous action, as I like to call it. A, of course, the main goal, which is improving our society. But there's two additional benefits, which is that faiths become a beacon of light. When we work together, we become a bigger beacon of light to the world, bringing a good name to faith at a time where, to a certain extent, religion is becoming marginalized. And of course, the relationships between the faiths develop. The former Chief Rabbi Sachs spoke of two types of relationship that can be forged in interfaith. One he called as face-to-face, which is dialogue, sharing our respective beliefs, foods, our cultures. It's a long and slow process undertaken by rare and special people. And he says, I quote, "can easily be undone." And the other type of relationship which can be forged is what he calls a side-by-side relationship, which happens when people of different faiths, instead of talking together, do together. They do social or righteous action together, recognizing that whatever our faith, we still need food, shelter, safety and security. And I commend this community for doing so much work, for example, with homelessness. I'm just going to finish off. Sorry. I'd like to finish off with a little story. Because we speak of social action and probably we think of huge projects and programs, and possibly we may think, oh, how could I get involved? What can I do? Can I really make a change? I want to tell you a story. It happens to be about an Orthodox Jewish lady, but substitute this for a person of your faith or anybody you like, or of no faith. In his book, Civility, author Stephen Carter, an American, writes that at age 10, he moved to Washington to an exclusive white area. He was a black man. He sat on the doorstep of his new home with his brother and sister, and nobody looked at them. He reflects on how he felt as a 10-year-old black boy. "We should never have come here," he writes. "This is no place for us." He writes, "As I was thinking these thoughts, a lady across the street looked at our direction and gave us a huge smile. She had parcels in her arms and she disappeared into her home. 5 minutes later, she came out with cookies," this is in America, "and drinks for me and my brother and sister, and said, 'Welcome to the neighborhood. Salam alaikum. It's good to have you.'" And he concludes in his book, Civility. This lady was Sarah Kastenbaum, an Orthodox Jewish lady. And he said, Jews have a word for this thing, we mentioned it, chesed, kindness, especially to strangers. And he said that moment changed his life. He went on to become a law professor at Yale University. You see, acts of kindness don't need to be grandiose, they don't need to hit the headlines or win us awards or recognitions. It's the small acts of kindness that we perform for little people in this world that creates the fabric of our society, a fabric woven out of righteousness, justice and compassion. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Next, we'll be inviting Sonu Malkani to say a few words. Sonu was born in Mumbai, India, and has lived here since 1970. She worked in advertising and the media, and for some years in real estate as well. She's been living in Harrow for 44 years and has volunteered for an amazing 40 of those years, raising awareness of an inherited blood disorder, thalassemia. She served as vice chair of Harrow Carers, as well as made a large contribution to the policing sector. She has chaired the Harrow Police and Community Consultative Group for a decade, also serving on the Racial Harassment Subcommittee, Domestic Violence Group, Multi-Agency Forum, Hate Crime Forum, Stop and Search Monitoring Group Network, and several other allied groups. She is also Vice Chair of Harrow Interfaith and has a deep belief in the importance of keeping our hugely diverse communities harmonious and peaceful, making use of our faith communities to deliver critical policing messages. This has resulted in helping make Harrow the safest London borough to date. Since last year, she has joined as a board member of Tell Mama, fighting all manner of discrimination and hate crime. So let's welcome her with a round of applause.
Right, let's get this right. First of all, good afternoon, Your Worshipful, the Deputy Mayor of Harrow, Councillor Margaret Devine, who gave us such a wonderful speech from her heart and told us many very good things. The faith and community leaders, and with the last on what you've just said, the rabbi from the Pinner Synagogue, it really makes you think, and also what the gentleman from the North Methodist Church said about us thinking globally as well as locally, because whatever happens out there does affect us here. And I want to say at the very outset, we want to make sure that we make absolutely certain that Harrow doesn't fall in that trap. They can all do what they're doing out there and sort themselves out, but we are not falling apart here. We're in the business of all staying together and bonding very closely to make our community even better than it is, yeah? Gareth Thomas, our MP, I think is he still here? Oh, Gareth's sitting very quietly in the corner. He's my local MP, and I can't tell you how much he's done for us. I'm really grateful to you, Gareth, and also your lovely daughter. Thank you very much for being with us and saying all the things you said. Welcome to all the other dignitaries as well. A very warm hello to all of you who are present here. I don't normally read something because I don't really have much practice in reading from bits of paper like this. However, I thought I'm given 5 minutes, so I'm going to have to rush through and say a few things. Very grateful to the Salam Centre for calling me back once more for your annual get-together. We eagerly await completion of this lovely venue, which is bound to be a very great community asset. I'm absolutely certain that you'll be very inclusive, very open, and you'll be a huge ambassador for the whole of the Muslim community in a funny sort of way, because all the suspicion that goes on happening in people's minds. I've got my police officer standing out there who probably understands what I'm on about, because all this Islamophobia, or if we have anything about anti-Semitism or whatever, it's all about people not really understanding one another and just suspecting somebody because they're different. It's all about being a bit nervous. Who are these people? And gosh, Harrow's changed so quickly over the years, the last 10 years. Some people say to me, can't hear any English spoken on the streets of Harrow. Well, I said, that's not quite true. Yes, all right, we have different languages. And I never really understood why people were a little cross when some of our Indian members used to sit in the tube and speak in their own language, and others would look at them and give them a funny look. Because one of my English friends said to me, well, we're very concerned, are they talking about us? I said, no, not really. They're too caught up in their own conversation. And now we're subjected to some of this, because all the Eastern European languages, I can assure you I don't know a single one of them. You start wondering, now you start understanding how the indigenous population feels here. It's a good way to learn. You know, what goes around comes around, I think. You've heard who I am. I'm Sonam Alkani, resident and volunteer here since many years. And they call me a community leader, but I'm just one of you, really. And I think every single one of us is born with the potential to lead. It comes from within you. It's a gift that you're born with, and which every single one of us has. It's just a matter of developing it. I'm also very privileged to be serving as the Hindu representative and vice chair of Harrow Interfaith, and the Harrow Safer Neighbourhood Board, again as vice chair, which gives me a great opportunity to do all sorts of things to help make our communities safer. We often work in partnership with Harrow Council, police and other statutory and community groups, helping to keep the community safe and harmonious. Now, the topic being discussed today is social action. Well, I prefer to call it the invisible bonds and bridges which immeasurably help unite humanity and establish a peace-filled world order. Now, I'm being a bit ambitious saying about a world order. I think if we start with the Harrow order first, or the North Harrow order, and then spread outwards, you know, this is how we do it. It's about establishing good relations throughout the community, irrespective of caste, creed, color, gender, or anything else. nurturing them with love and respect. I mean, nurturing is very important. Accepting and loving one another, warts and all. It's a bit like a family, isn't it? It's about the priceless infrastructure all of us here today are seeking to provide. It's not about money, funding, or just one particular group or a particular person who might love themselves. I think we know what I'm talking about. It's about partnering and serving a richly diverse society such as ours. Young and old alike must be part of the whole, as Margaret pointed out. Our young folk, well, they are real experts, I think. You know, they're changing, they're experts, and they know how to exploit the social media. But why on earth should we not make good use of them? We must provide opportunities for them to lead from the front so that their confidence also grows by leaps and bounds. Often, you know, some of us golden oldies, me being one, we have to try and make way so the younger people can come step up to the plate and take their, you know, their rightful place, and then their confidence will develop by leaps and bounds. It's about empowerment for everybody, a caring and sharing society, and therefore less, which then becomes less resentful, less suspicious, and less angry, I believe, because all the anger we see sometimes on our streets, it's probably about people feeling disenfranchised. I don't belong here. What's in it for me? In the Harrow interfaith family that I call, Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Jains, Buddhists, Jews, Baha'is, Sikhs, Zoroastrians, these are our largest groups. We focus on the commonalities. Respect and love are the buzzwords. We also stand by one another through thick and thin. Now, is that not a powerful social action? I think some of you will remember this when our Harrow Mosque was attacked. We all stood out there and said, come on, you, who wants to come through here? You have to, if you take them on, you take all of us on. We're all in this together. And if we keep that up, that's what's very important. Also, as somebody touched here, outreach is very important. Being inclusive is very important. Nobody should feel, this is not my home. The Salam Center, when it opens up, I'm sure your doors will open to everybody. We are twice blessed to be able to learn from each other. Community organizations and groups working together can help improve our life and shape our future. Isn't that a boon? Eliminating that which divides us and makes us selfish, introducing new ideas and initiatives with an open mind, free of prejudice and in a fair manner. That's what helps neighborhoods thrive and communities gel. Love thy neighbor as yourself. You've all heard that. You actually got to do it now. We need not copy what is happening in other parts of the world and the war-torn world, really. Instead, we could set a brilliant example for other communities to follow. We only have one lifetime to serve. Hindus believe that service to man, which we call seva, is worship of God. Well, the Jewish community I know also has a seva day called mitzvah day, and often the Hindus and Jews, you know, we sort of, in Interfaith Week, which usually is during the month of October, we, you know, get together and do a seva day together, a day of service to the community. But we're not doing it to the community, doing it with the community, because we are ourselves part of that community. I think also another very important thing is joint working, sharing of skills and knowledge, caring for vulnerable groups, vulnerable people such as our elders, young children, disadvantaged groups, the disabled, and helping people have a voice and realize their potential. All these things matter and must be cascaded equitably throughout the whole community. It's no use saying, we'll do it for this group but not for somebody else. You know, I'm a Hindu, so I'll do it for my Hindu group. It doesn't work like that. Every single one of us here has equal rights, and so we must have an equal share of what we, you know, what we're pulling out there, giving out to other people. The focus must be on the local community, so we slowly and steadily grow into a close-knit family, strong, healthy, harmonious, standing by one another through thick and thin. Of course, Harrow has a proud tradition for this. There's no reason why this cannot be escalated throughout London and the whole nation once we put down strong foundations. The important thing is to first build strongly here. I'll try and wrap this up very quickly because I know everybody's waiting, and there's one more eminent speaker I can see who's waiting there very patiently. I think the thought must come in our mind, and we must really think about this. What can I do myself to add value to the community in which I live? It's not about, you know, the little old, small old me, but the big me, which is inclusive of everybody, and actually means, what can I do for all of us? It's about giving, not grabbing. This grabbing mentality has got to stop. You know, me, my family, my particular religious group, my neighbor. No, it's not just that. You can start off there, but you must spread it out. Only then can we live peacefully. One might form walking groups, for example, to help promote health, take care of a sick neighbor. Every single one of us can make a contribution. I was remembering when I was listening to some of the speakers, you know, the Queen said in her Christmas message, if you'll recall, that Mother Teresa said, not all of us can do big things all the time. It makes small acts on a day-to-day basis, which then become, you know, really very powerful. That's what it's all about. Please volunteer. It's very rewarding. Give up your valuable time and make it invaluable. It's good for the spirit, and the only thing it's the only thing you'll carry with you out of this world. Believe me. Honestly, that's the only thing anybody has succeeded doing this far. Doesn't matter if you're Trump or whoever you might be. You will become a priceless role model. Every single one of you are capable of forming part of the incredible community chain and forging a golden chain of pure love and giving, which no burglar can steal. I know we were all concerned about burglars. This is what nobody can steal from you: your goodness, your greatness, your potential to go out there, reach out to others, and do the best you can. Stop the hate, end discrimination, and anything which separates us from each other and our humanity. Promote love and equality between men and women. Then no demonstrations against atrocious acts will be needed. We see this on the television daily. It's such a shame and can be avoided. No Islamophobia or anti-Semitism. Instead, encourage a spontaneous flow of love, compassion and kindness for the suffering and needy. As the rabbi said very clearly, we are not politicians. It doesn't mean all politicians are bad, but some of them unfortunately have given others a bad name. And we are actually, some of us are faith leaders and community leaders, but every single one of us is a decent human being here. And that's what matters more than any other title. I'm so proud that the Salam Center has tied up closely with our Christian community, and I will endeavor to develop a connect between the Hindu community and the Salam Center in the near future. I've just seen Azmat Ali from our Harrow Mosque. He's also an interfaith member since many years, and I'm very grateful. I've learned a lot from him. Let us seek the blessings of the Lord and go forth making Harrow the most united borough to live and work in. More power to us Harrovians. That's a phrase I use all the time, and people wonder what that's all about. I said, Harrovians, this is what makes us all, you know, part of this borough. God bless us all with his love and peace, and help us walk the wonderful path he's chosen for us. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you very much. So last but by no means least, we welcome Reverend Jodie Stowell. We've been fortunate to welcome her last year and are very pleased that she has joined us again today. Reverend is the vicar of St. Michael and All Angels Harrow Weald. She is passionate about seeking and flourishing of the local community. So let's welcome her with a round of applause. Thank you very much. There you go.
Hello. Okay, I really like the whole social media thing, so we're going to take a selfie if that is okay. You said go ahead, so I'm taking that. Okay, everyone smile. Wonderful. Brilliant. Okay, well, how can I follow all of those things? You've said such wonderful things, everyone who has spoken. I think in terms of social action, but I like the righteous action thing. I think that's about right. Because what we want is justice. We want just order in our communities. We want the oppressed to go free, and we want to lift up the voice of those who feel that they are voiceless. And I can hear that in what Rabbi Danny was saying when I was reading the recitation verses, this idea of justice. It comes through loud and clear in what we're all saying. And I just want to say thank you for the lady who sang the Quran verses. That was amazing, such a gift, thank you. So it's wonderful to feel that those things are the things that unite us, knowing, as Rabbi Danny said, that there are differences. We don't want to pretend that there aren't differences, but that actually there is this idea that we are all, as human beings, we have a shared humanity, we're made in the image of God. And that's something which unites us very strongly. In the Bible, I've got my Bible on my phone. There are a couple of verses which I think speak quite strongly, and I just wanted to share with you about the idea of social action or righteous action. In fact, one of them Rabbi Danny picked up earlier, but I'm going to share the other one first. Where am I? Oh, here we go. So the prophet Jeremiah says, "Seek the welfare of the city where I have sent you into exile, and pray to the Lord on its behalf, for in its welfare you will find your welfare." So there's a couple of things there. There's the idea that actually we should be thinking about the welfare of the place where we live. Now, I don't know how you ended up in Harrow. I've been here 5.5 years. I love it. I loved it almost instantly. And the diversity was the thing which I've, just loved above anything else. But, I'm a foreigner here. You may be born and bred here. But however we've ended up in the place where we are, from where I come from, I feel like God sent me here. This is where I've been sent. And I think that we are to seek the welfare of the place where we are, no matter why we ended up here. So there's something about being intentional about seeking the welfare of the place where you are. There's also another verse which Rabbi Danny picked up, which is the one that I've picked up is from Leviticus, which is right at the beginning of the Hebrew Scriptures. I can't pick it up here now. But what it says is that the person who is a foreigner, you must treat as one who is native born. You must treat as one who is native born, because you were foreigners in Egypt. Okay? Now, I did wonder if I was going to be the first person to mention Donald Trump, but I wasn't. And all I can say is I don't know which Bible he is reading, but it is not the one that says the foreigner among you must be treated as a native born or as a citizen. And I think there's a sense where whether we are sent into a place and we feel like a foreigner amongst the familiar people, the native borns, or whether we feel that we are the native borns and we feel that other people are foreigners coming in, either way, we are to live together in community, in harmony. We are to seek the welfare of the foreign place in which we find ourselves, or we are to treat the foreigner well. And the reality is that no matter whether you were born here, no matter what clothes you wear, what color skin you have, we all feel there are places where we feel like a stranger. We all feel that. And we all feel that there are places where we feel at home. So that's the message that I want to say, is that the places where we feel foreign, and we all feel foreign, are the places that we need to intentionally start to seek the welfare for those people, that place. And the places where we feel at home and feel native born, those are the places where we need to say to ourselves, those who are different from me, I need to start including them more and helping them to feel as if they belong. Because I think there is a lot, there's a lot, it's mentioned here already, in this world, where I think that because people don't feel that they belong, they don't feel that they have an identity, they don't feel that they are valued, that often we can project that onto people who are different to us and want to exclude them because it helps us to feel that we belong. But actually, if we start sorting out those issues of the fact that we all feel like strangers in some places, we all feel at home in other places, we can begin to work together as citizens together for the common good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all of our speakers tonight. I feel like in Harrow, we're so fortunate to have communities working together so successfully And today really has been representative of that fact. So thank you very much. Can we have another round of applause for everyone just being here and all of those talks? So in terms of today, on the Guardian homepage, if you go down the homepage, there's actually a place where you can share your experience. So if you are willing to share your experience of Visit My Mosque Day 2017, just filling that out on the Guardian homepage would be really helpful. We're also going to be making some video entries. So if you would like to share your experience via video, if you could talk to either Kamal, Miqdad, or myself, or just anyone around that you think is part of SICM, that would be good, so we can get some video entries together as well. So just to end off with them, the last part of the programme relates to the current development works that I'm sure you've all seen. We're in the progress, as we all know, of developing the Salam Centre. So to tell us more, we're going to welcome our trustee of this centre, Dr. Nizar Merali. After his talk, I feel no programme at SICM is ever complete without some tea. So we're going to have some tea and samosas and some biscuits available as well. So Nizar and Cole.
Thank you. Can I once again thank you all for participating in this afternoon's function. We really appreciate you giving up your time. So my name is Nizar Merali. I'm a local general practitioner. I've been at Welbeck Road Surgery for the last 37 years. And we look after about 20,000 patients. And I'm one of the founder members here and a trustee of this organization. And indeed, I think the next slide resonates with every word that I heard this afternoon from all of you. And this is what we are in one slide. This is our history. And some of the key features of this organization are, number one, women are at the forefront of our decision making. Okay? In the executive committee, established 30 years ago, a principle that we have held steadfast to. Okay? Number two, English has been our standard language at this center. It's the only language that acts as a common denominator for anybody coming from anywhere. So whether there's an Afghani refugee or a Somali refugee or a local Englishman or a Hindu, English is something everyone understands, and that's what we have here. Every deliberation is in English. If it so happens that we have a scholar who cannot speak English, we must have a simultaneous translation in English on the screen. Number three, we have empowered the youth of our community. Again, I heard that. Believe me, likes of myself are past sell-by date now. All I have to do is just deliver this project and I'm out. It's the young ones, Kumail and Miqdad and Maryam and Khadija weren't born when we started. They went through this organization. They were nurtured by the men and women of this organization. Number four, we have made sure that we have a relationship with the larger community. 15 years ago, my colleagues from the Central Mosque will agree with me, that we said, for heaven's sake, come and use our premises. They're as much yours as they're ours. For 14 consecutive years, because of the lack of space at the Harrow Central Mosque, we made sure that the congregation was catered for every Friday, some 700 to 800 people attending, until we demolished. Indeed, as we heard, St. Albans, the Methodist Church, we have been going out for the Christmas Mass for the last 7 years, once a year picnics, every month lunches at both ends. With the local synagogues, we have had seminars there and here. And Rabbi, you kindly come here and given us the TED Talks as well during Ramadan. So we are reaching out. We are penetrating the Hindu community as well, but we would love your help to really go a little bit further. So Navin Shah and the others are in communication with us. Indeed, my Sunday morning walks that I do with my patients, have you ever met your MP twice in the same day? Well, I'm so lucky. Okay. So walks. So can I quickly tell you what this is all about? So really, we want to be the first of its kind, a Muslim center. Yes, indeed, a Muslim center, owned by Muslims, funded by and large by Muslims. But we truly want to open the doors to everybody. That's the decision that was made in year 2000. It took us 5 years to get planning permission, believe me. But thanks for the support of all the local councillors. And we finally did get the planning in 2011. We had our groundbreaking ceremony in 2014. And where are we now? 3 years on, we have completed our 2 floors of basement construction, which in a month's time we'll hopefully be able to walk on the ground floor and go down the normal stairs. But today, for those of you who wish to come to the site, you may be either able to have a look from the top or come down the temporary staircases that we have erected there. But come and have a look so that you can see what it all entails. Can I take you through some of, the Prophet's grandson, the Prophet's son-in-law, the Prophet's cousin, the 4th Caliph of Islam, Ali ibn Abi Talib, had this saying, and this is what has really inspired us. And let's just go on to the next slide. And let's go on to the next one as well. Okay, let's look at the plan. So this is the ground floor. As we come here, and as somebody again rightly, I think Rabbi, you mentioned, rich in Islamic architecture, but we haven't put a dome or a minara. A dome and a minara is not necessarily Islamic. It's cultural, Turkish origin. The first mosque of Islam was a square. In fact, a line on the ground. Yes? So why pluck in an Eastern concept into Western world? Okay? And the moment you put a minara and a dome, you're telling the person on the street, hey, this is a Muslim center, stay away. No minara, no dome. With respect, I'm not for a moment, I love my Harrow Mosque, my Central Harrow Mosque. That serves a different purpose. This is serving a different purpose. Here the intention is to invite the whole of the local community, please come in. This is as much your community center as it is mine. And we must make sure that our facilities here fulfills the needs of the local community. So did I invite my non-Muslims to my children's wedding some 15 years ago? Yes, I did. Did they come? Yes, they did. Why did they come? As a courtesy to me. Did they ever come again to my center uninvited? The answer is no, because there's nothing for them to do. The intention here is that once I invite Gareth and his family, Gareth will come again himself, uninvited, because of facilities which attract him and his needs and his daughter's needs. So let's just go through every floor of that plan. So as you enter, I wouldn't get the funding for it if I didn't put a prayer hall. Okay, so indeed we have a prayer hall here. Sorry, what's happened there? As you come in, so a large piazza, a large foyer, all in keeping with Islamic architecture of courtyards. Of course, I haven't got massive land here to put a courtyard, but we have the piazza, we have got the social area. Am I exceeding my time? No, okay, so no, stop me. If I ram on, let's just tell me. So just to create space for social interaction, so important, so much part of a feature of Islamic architecture. So the prayer hall on the right, restaurant on the left. Okay, and a feature staircase. And this area obviously can act as exhibition area. You can have an exhibition on communal relationships, exhibition on Egypt, exhibition on Islamic contribution to science, for example, or whatever, on a monthly basis. Let's go either up the stairs or down the stairs. Which way are we going next? Okay, this is right to the bottom. This is -2. Which we already excavated. So -2, we have a sports hall, England-sized sports hall for badminton court, volleyball, netball, basketball, what have you. And on this floor, we also have a 100-seater auditorium. So an event like this can quite easily fit in there. And it has the sloping floor, and you can have it as a drama stage or cinema. So that's on that floor. And on this floor, we also have a female changing area and a female gender-specific gym. Women, not necessarily Muslims, I mean, needless to say, we came up with this short list by doing various exercises and with focus groups to try and see what the community needs. So we were amazed to see that there's a need, not by necessarily Muslim community, women of Muslim community only, but the larger of the community, that we want a gender-specific gym as well. So here we are. We are going to have that. That's going to be a beauty parlor. If you go one floor up, needless to say, the sports hall has to be double height, so there's nothing over that. Here we have the male gym and the male changing area. We have a sports studio and state-of-the-art kitchen. Hopefully, we have to try and recover. We have to try and earn some money. So wedding catering, school catering, or whatever, we'll make sure that we are able to fulfill the needs of the local communities, catering needs, businesses, or whatever. Let's go next floor. So we are now skipped the ground floor and we're now on the first floor. On the first floor, we have another hall here, which is going to be a multi-purpose hall, which can add up as a banquet hall or a wedding banquet, conferences, whatever. We have a roof garden for entertainment. We have a youth center, a library, an IT room, a multi-faith room. So we mean what we say, yes? So any other member of the faith other than Muslim, if he or she wanted to have space for their spiritual needs, there is space here designated specifically for that. And then one floor up, we have the admin area and we have a media room there. And then a building which is going to be freestanding, and the final phase is when this bit gets demolished, and so does those two houses over there. And then we have what's called the Children's Center. If you have the next slide. No slide. Okay, so there's a standalone Children's Center on three floors. Oh, here we are. Yeah, this is it. Yeah. So this is where they are. So this is the first floor of the Children's Center. Do you want to go? Is it represented on every slide? There you are. So this is top floor, party rooms, whatever. So standalone Children's Center where 39 and 37 Gloucester Road is. Okay, some of the images. Shall we have a look at some of the images? These are architects' images. Okay, this is okay. So this is what the night scene is, the night view. Let's have a look. Okay, so this is what the prayer hall. This is the roof garden. Not very clear vision there. Let's just have a look. Are there any more slides? Okay, don't worry if you haven't. So there are some images of the restaurant or the first floor, the foyer, or the staircase. You can't see those? Don't worry, but they're on the website. Okay, the Salam Center website has got all those images. And that's it. Men and women, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. So once we have had our tea and samosa, I'm happy to walk there for those of you who would like to walk with me, and we can go next door and have a look.
Sorry, can I just end it off? So I'd just like to thank you all for joining us today. We hope that you've enjoyed your time with us. And you're, of course, free to either visit the site or stay in the warmth and chat. So if anyone has any questions or anything in terms of Islam or what we do in this community center or anything in general, absolutely everyone is more than happy to talk to anyone. So please don't keep your questions to yourself. Please do ask away. Sorry? All right, so if you put your hand up, if you're just a community member over here, so these are the people that you can ask questions to, all right, on absolutely anything. And at SICM, we're actually trying to reduce our carbon footprint as well. So in terms of the cups that we use and the cutlery and things, we've actually got plastic cups that we can wash. So if you would prefer to use one of those and help us in kind of staying environmentally friendly, that would be brilliant as well. But if not, we've got both options. So thank you very much.
So I think in a couple of minutes, we will be taking people to the site. If you want to take your tea and and samosas first. Then we'll take you to the site in a couple of minutes, if that's okay.